the rights of councillors to vote or not is partly put down by statute, but also by common law as determined by various courts of New Zealand. And the leading authorities, I am told, on this matter, say there is nothing wrong with a councillor having a strongly held view on a subject that has yet to be determined. But it's a question of whether there is bias or not. I believe that I am not biased. I believe that I do have a strongly held view, and that has been publicly known. But it is not a matter of bias of my subjective viewpoint. So, as a result of that, I am advised that I am able to vote on the issue today.
Thank you for that. Of course, councillors have an opinion from Jonathan Salter, who is the senior advisor to local government in New Zealand, and I have just got off the phone from the Office of the Auditor General. Who is right legally, frankly, doesn't matter. Jonathan Salter's decision has been conflict between the submitter and decision maker cannot be the decision maker in your own cause. Councillor McGill would be disqualified from hearings as all submissions are related. But in terms of the Auditor General that has just come out, in which recognise, of course, that these are opinions, and the only person who has the ability to decide whether there is a conflict of interest is, of course, Councillor McGill. That is Councillor McGill. He is unable to sit on council hearings due to a conflict of interest. This is not a matter of financial interest. He has expressed his view in the public and is so be perceived as having predetermined the outcome. Even if he does not believe he has a closed mind, the perception is just as problematic. Accordingly, it is always preferable for elected members to decide whether they think they can more effectively contribute, either by lodging a personal submission or by taking part in the consideration and decision-making, but usually not both, is the opinion of the Auditor General. Of course, to me, politics is not about the legality, it is often about the perception, and too often facts get lost in the emotion. I am afraid that the populace would see councillors once again, in Councillor McGill's words, shafting the T-Rail community or being seen as our Tauri T-Rail councillors against T-Rail. Already we're getting different interpretations of some of the public statements. When as council we started looking at our governance structure, I was more conscious of my aim of being more effective and efficient, and that's why I voted for a reduction in councillors. I was also conscious that 2 wards would give T-Rail a more consistent and meaningful representation around the table if there were 3 or 4 councillors that had a committed electoral base, and would give a wider representation from T-Rail and Tauri. My thoughts also were that the northern part of the district were more cohesive. Frankly, when I went out that, I never considered that the concept of succession from the South Waikato would be raised as an issue. I admit that was a mistake. I had a dental practice in T-Rail for many years. We had the doctors, it's called Tauri T-Rail doctors. T-Rail people, say, from the Arts Trust, the Rangiora Trust Board, Victim Support Youth Council, the Prattling goes on out there, and of course we think about the work on the roundabout. And I have to again admit that I was wrong, because when that concept was raised, I concentrated on the possible or cost to the T-Rail ratepayer through harmonisation, and I thought this would be considered. Interestingly, that cost of it could be $750. Was amazing. But nobody else apart from me seemed to be concerned about it. I was upset with comments like Cinderella, shafted by Tokoroa, not supported by Tokoroa, and the depth of feeling that was shown at the public meeting. Again, I attempted to counteract those expressed feelings, but now realise I made another mistake, because I was addressing symptoms and not the cause. It now appears to me that there is a deep feeling in TRL, not only how they should be represented, but more to the point where their seat of governance should be. And I take that on board. Now that is outside our control of where the board, where the boundaries should be. And I take on board a very good submission that came on in from Councillor McGill and that more people in TRL generally identify with Matamata for service delivery. A majority of children go to Matamata College. TRL has a number of different activities and objects. There is a lack of synergy between Pataru and TRL. And TRL has a different culture to Tokoroa, and that's been interpreted to me on people quite differently. TRL is not supported by Tokoroa and Pataru councillors, and those reasons have been endorsed by the TRL Community Board, members of the public, and in the submissions. I took those concerns on board, and I wrote to the TRL Community Board asking them to do a survey. Once again, I was wrong, because that is not within their power, nor do they have the money to do that. That is not their job, and therefore it was no right track, even though Councillor McGill had offered at a TRL Community Board meeting that he would undertake such a survey. After hearing all that, I realised that harmonisation is not a concern, because Matamata may well harmonise like South Waikato. So having listened, I will move that we start looking at what the status quo is, but given the apparent dissatisfaction of the TRL ward as represented, and who can make that decision, that we must have willing bedfellows, and our job is to act upon the request of the community board that raised the question of succession. Now that's not an unusual request. The Local Government Commission was asked to look at whether Waihi Beach should remain with Western Bay and not go into Harrington. Right now the Kingston community is looking to see whether they move into Southland out of Queenstown Lakes. You will have noticed that Rodney is asking the Local Government Commission to decide whether they stay in Auckland. And the reason the Local Government Commission exists is because of boundary changes. It's the Local Government's Commission to ascertain community desires, and more importantly, do they have the resources. Then, with this conflict of interest, that we as a council can do nothing if Councillor McGill says I have no conflict of interest, despite the legal from Jonathan Salter and the Auditor General. This council may say, we believe Councillor McGill, given his comments that as he made, that I endorse and type out on this occasion from myself as a ratepayer person, and wishing therefore to be judge, submitter, judge and jury. According to the Deputy Director, is outside natural justice when one is both the judge and the submitter on the same evidence. I believe that that places us in a difficult situation. Councillor McGill can decide to sit here, and we will be open for legal challenge. And I am firmly of the opinion that that legal challenge will take place, given the opinions from the Auditor General and the Solicitor. I think that is so important that this council should decide to hand the representation review over to the Local Government Commission. The Local Government Commission will take on board all these submissions granted, and if it decides that there should be a boundary change, total or partial, that in itself would change on the plus or minus 10% rule what would take place over the rest of the district. I have no idea, but they have it.